Hello, I'm back again. Well, I was gonna do a continuation from the last video, and I was gonna go into the numbers and whatnot on this video, but I figured that I would actually start here instead first, and then maybe a little further down the line go into the numbers and whatnot. Um, since that is a much longer video and I just really didn't have the time to do that. But anyways, on this video here, I want to backtrack a little bit about what the whole transformation thing is all about. I know I talked about it in the last video about seeing the numbers and moving forward, but a lot of times people ask the question, how in the world do I do that? What is the process that I have to take now that I see these numbers? Okay, they're telling me to move forward, they're telling me to move on. What is it that I have to do in order to actually move forward? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain a little bit of that process here, as it is also spoken of in the Emerald Tablets of Tahuti, those indestructible green tablets. So I'm gonna talk a little bit here. Let me make this a little wider here about this thing called the Great Work. The Great Work. Now, what is the Great Work? The Great Work simply is alchemy. Alchemy, physical alchemy, okay, and also spiritual alchemy. They are the same processes within a as above, so below concept. Okay, and basically, I just want to go ahead and jump into the first step here. The very first step here, calcination. The first step is called calcination, represents the breaking down of the ego self. How many times have I already said about breaking down the ego self? You must break down the ego self in order to move forward. It has to happen. Why? Because the ego self, as I explained before, only wants one thing. It wants what it wants and not what you want, per se. Okay? And in order to really do this, to break down the ego self, for instance, if you are stuck in a vortex of ignorance, or if you are stuck trying to figure out where the hell do I go from here next, you've gotten involved with the Hebrew movement, but then you realize there's something missing, but that doesn't come until after a long while, because while you're in that, the ego is just feeling the hell out of itself. It's just loading itself up with just more and more and more and more, and the further you sink in, the harder it is to get out. It's quicksand, for instance. It's just like quicksand. The more you struggle, the faster you sink. Okay. um But basically, what you have to do here is, for instance, let's say you got one side over here saying one thing, and you got another side over here on the other saying another. Now, you're kind of divided in between the two. There's that idea of divide and conquer, which is very, very, very much alive and prevalent today as it is now, between even just the Hebrew movement and the Kemetic movement, or the African consciousness versus the Hebrew, or the Christian versus the Hebrew, or the non-messianic versus the messianic. I mean, all of that is just divide and conquer. I mean, I've been there, I've done that. But anyways, let's just say, for instance, you have that side going on. You got the messianic, you got the non-messianic side. You're listening over here, or you got the you got the people over here talking about this side of the book only, And then you got this people over here on this side talking about no, not just this side of the book, but the whole book is everything. Okay, what you got to do is you have to look at it from both sides of the board. You have to look at it through, both perspectives. You got to look at it from their side, research up on it, and you got to look back at it from the other side, research up on it. Okay, and then eventually you should come to the idea, that it's one idea. And once you realize that, then that's when you can start trying to break down the ego. That's one way of doing it. Okay. Let me go ahead and keep on reading here. Physically, it is the initial breakdown of a base metal using fire to remove impurities. Here it is, removing impurities. Okay. In the interior world, this is the stage of self-awareness, marked by the constant activity of watching one's inner self, with the consequence of breaking down what is false. Okay, what is false? Looking at both sides here. All right, retaining only what is pure and true, or what is true and pure. Okay, basically you take two ideas. Okay, you look at two ideas here. All right, and you pull out from what is true and what is and separated from what is false, basically what is true and pure, and you take that and you move on with that, but it has to happen through means of studying, research, looking up, info. Okay. Dissolution is the further breaking down of the false ideals by total immersion. There's a reason why that is underlined, into the rejected part of the self, known as some as the shadow. Okay. Physically, this is the dissolving of the ashes, okay, from the calcination stage in water. Basically, what we're talking about here, total immersion. You can look at this as being equivalent to meditation. Or 40 days, 40 nights, 40 days in the desert, the trials. Okay, the trials of going through the stage of dissolving the ego. Okay, by going deep within, focusing on the negativity or the negative aspect or the false ideas and what have you. Okay, you're doing a whole lot of separation in this stage, even though it actually comes before separation here. But I'll get to that in a minute. But that's basically what it's about. Using meditation is also another means of dissolving the ego. Okay, because you're diving deep within the mind. You're diving, you're in a thought process of transformation. Okay, so moving on down here, we got separation is the third step. Okay, in the third step, called separation, after breaking down what is false and taking away the impurities, we start over again and reintegrate what we choose to take as truth. In other words, if you have read a certain book in a certain religion, okay, regardless of whatever that book is that you previously learned from, okay, once you have broke down the ego, okay, separated what is true and what is false by means of total immersion or meditation, for instance, or heavy research of both sides to determine what is true and what is pure, okay, and then actually completely separating the false from the true. In other words, it is complete separation. Okay, meaning taking it away and never bringing it back ever. It's gone. It's out the window. Okay, you're over it. Okay, you're completely over it. You don't need it anymore. Okay, discarding it. All right, throwing it away. Once you have done all that and have completely separated it here, okay, you have determined what is false, taking it away, the impurities. Now you only got what is true. Okay. So basically, if you have that book in a spiritual aspect, you will begin to see differently. You will. It'll just automatically happen through the mentality of the spirit. Okay, you will go back, you will start reading a book in a different light, in a different knowledge, is what I'm saying here. Okay, you will read it in a different knowledge, and you're basically going back, and it's just like erasing what you had before and writing something else down, is basically what it is. Okay, so you get to step 4, which is conjunction. It is the empowerment of the true self by uniting one's polarities and periodicities. This is the first sacred union. The first sacred union. Okay, physically, it is the recombination of the saved elements from separation into a new substance. In the interior world, this is where the channel of grace, the middle way of knowledge and holiness, begins to open for the truth seeker. At this stage of enlightenment, it is possible for the truth seeker to experience blissful states of oneness and see duality as an illusion, unreal. Okay, meaning duality, we're talking about two separate ideas. Initially, what you thought, what you had going on up here at before the Calcnation stage, okay, you had duality. You had one over here, let's say your your devil side and your angel side over here. And once you get to the conjunction stage, you realize that, that's what the sacred union is basically about here. What we're talking about here, we're talking about the subconscious and the conscious mind. Okay, the male and the female energy. Okay, the female energy and the male energy is needed to create a oneness at this stage. The oneness here. For instance, when we talk about manifestation, for instance, we need we need the female energy, which actually in real life we know births the child. It is the same deal. It births the thought. It births the idea. Okay, manifestation. You need the male and the female to come together as one to birth the manifestation stage here. Okay, that's the first sacred union. All right, now let's see, we get down. Okay, this is the first level of enlightenment of self-realization. Okay, all right, fermentation. Actually, you know what, back it up a little bit here. A lot of times people, well, this is true, it's really happening. Okay, there's a lot of female energy that is now coming in. This is why people are realizing, this is why people are seeing numbers such as 9/11, 11/11, because what they're telling you is that, hey, your thoughts are manifesting itself pretty rapidly. Be on the lookout. This is happening. Reason why is because that female energy, that disappeared from us a long time ago, which is why we fell into darkness, okay, was why we fell into ignorance to begin with, from moving away from a certain energy. But what is happening is we're moving back towards that energy that we had all those thousands, God knows how long, years ago. And that energy is now coming back towards us, or we're going back towards that energy per se. This is what the whole second sun is about. We're moving towards a new energy, but the energy, it's not just any energy, it's the energy that we had back then. We're moving towards a different sun. Okay, so we're gonna have more than one sun around here, and it's gonna get really effing hot. But anyways, I don't want to go into too deep into that, but that's basically what's going on. This female energy is now coming back. Okay, we already had the male energy present here. Okay, it hasn't went anywhere. But now we once again have this female energy coming in, and now we are now able to actually manifest these thoughts as oneness. All right, so we get to stage 5, which is fermentation. Okay, fermentation is the acceptance of divine power and grace that reanimates, energizes, and enlightens the alchemist. Physically, this is the growth of bacteria in an organic solution. In the interior world, the enlightened being is exposed to numerous catalysts, both internal and external, so that he can develop psycho-spiritual antibodies. In this phase, it may dawn on the enlightened being that his internal separations and dual nature cannot be denied or rejected. Any illusions or preconceived notions he may have had about the true nature of oneness start to decompose. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just read the 6th stage as well, because the 6th stage ties in with the 5th stage. The 6th stage, called distillation, is an agitation and sublimation of the self, which is necessary to ensure that no impurities from a disillusioned ego and no deeply submerged falsehoods are incorporated into the next and final stage. Basically, what's going on here between stage 5 and 6, the ego comes back, because you can't absolutely shut out completely the ego, okay? Because there's a reason why it's called balance. All right. But basically what's going on in the fermentation stage, the 5th stage, is the ego. It's trying to come back. It's knocking on the door. Okay, you answer the door. It's the ego. Okay, the ego is sitting there like, what the hell, man? I thought we was cool, and you're just gonna shut me out like that, and you're sitting there trying to you're sitting there trying to cool the flames with it, but then basically you end up getting into a fight, into the distillation stage, which is necessary to ensure that no impurities from a disillusioned ego come back in. Basically what you're doing here is you are trying to get the ego to think in a positive, truthful manner. This is why this is probably about as far as most people reach here. When they reach this 5th and 6th stage right here, cognitive dissonance comes in, and it is serious. It is very serious, because they come in, and I see this a lot. They come in, they get so far, and you think that they're gonna keep on going, okay? And then when you turn around, they're right back where they were before. I've seen it. They end up right back where they were previously. That's why, if you really are truly serious about moving forward, meaning not being afraid of what's over that incline. You're ready to seriously and truly face whatever it is that's over that hill, okay, that you can't see. All right, because like I said, most people are too afraid. They're too afraid to of what they're going to see over top of that hill that they can't see. So most of them turn back and go the other direction. And in this case, the ego that has come back in has won. Okay? That's why even after all the separation that you attempted to do through steps 1 through 4, as you can see, you still cannot get rid of this ego, this lower thought process, like this lower self. You can't do it. So, like I said, this is why this stage is so hard here. It's just like in the biblical story when Jacob fought with God in the land of Peniel, in the pineal. Jacob fought with God. Okay, Jacob fought with his higher self, is what that is saying, in a place called pineal. All right, see, Jacob, he got so far. Okay, that's what the Jacob's ladder story is about. It's about the ascension process that he went through in order to get to the stage he was at before he fought with God. And that's what this whole stage, well, basically more so stage 6 rather than stage 5 comes from. All right, but rarely people tend to reach stage 7 here. It's harder for less mature people to reach stage 7 rather than someone that is more mature. And maturity comes with color. It just does. It comes with melanin. It comes with, it makes it easier, per se, okay, to get over that hump, no problem. And I mean, I'll get more into that into another video here. But basically, when we reach stage 7, okay, this is the second enlightenment and sacred union. Basically, after all the fighting that you've done with your lower self, or excuse me, your higher self or your lower self or whatever, okay, once you've fought it all out and everything, and then somehow or another you were able to get your ego or your lower self under control to a point where y'all are cool with each other. Okay, you guys are more like friends now, like close friends now and everything, because you've seen, because basically what happens before now is there's a disagreement between each other. And obviously with a disagreement in everything, in marriage, in relationships of any kind, okay, there's always disagreements. Okay, and when you come to these agreements here, it's the same as, accepting one's ideas, accepting both ideas, and understanding where it is that both sides are coming from. Therefore, this is what creates your second enlightenment, your sacred union, your last sacred union. Okay, the unification between your lower and higher self. All right, this is why doing this, as I said before, is not easy. It's not easy, okay, because it is very hard to get someone that believes they are conscious. I mean, they are consciously aware, okay, but their other self is still asleep and they don't realize this. A lot of people don't realize what it means to truly be awakened. You could just see it, okay? They just give off this light, this knowledge, and the things that they say, their actions, the things that they do, how they do it, etc., you can just normally tell. But this is the process here, and this is why it's so hard, because it's like basically trying to get the devil to agree with, in a positive manner is why it's so hard. It's very hard, but not impossible. Understand, it is not impossible. I can promise you that. But again, you must be very serious about this. Okay? So with that being said, in the next video, I'll go over some symptoms that you may be experiencing of of ascension or of your awakening. How do you know if you really are awakened? So with that being said, until the next video, y'all, I'll see ya. Peace.